Passion Profiles with Cheryl Hickey. An intimate look into the inspirations of Canada's most celebrated chefs, designers, and artists. Brought to you by Haagen-Dazs.
Hi everyone, welcome to Passion Profiles. Today we're talking with Mark McEwan.
Mark McEwan was the youngest chef to hold the executive chef position in the Canadian restaurant industry. Mark's restaurants include One by Mark, North 44, and soon Fabrica. He recently opened McEwan's, a gourmet grocery store that features his own line of takeaway cuisine created from his renowned recipes. Mark's never been busier, but he's looking to open another store and he's already making plans for his next restaurant. His hit shows include Superstar Chef Challenge, The Heat, and this year he will be the head judge on Top Chef Canada.
Mark, welcome to Passion Profiles.
Good to be here.
But thank you for having us here in one of your homes.
Well, this is fun.
This is nice. How did it all sort of begin for you?
Oh boy, I started cooking in Buffalo. I was raised in Buffalo right until I was 18. So my first restaurant job was at Mindy's Wine Cellar at Northtown Plaza, working for the Gleason family. So I started as a dishwasher. Just to put gas in my car. And I became acquainted with the business in a small way. Then we moved to Toronto in '75, and I did the same thing. I worked for the Papel family at the Country Squire restaurant on the QEW. Now, you're too young to remember that restaurant.
I know of it.
But again, I worked in the restaurant business when I was finishing up high school, and I decided to try it as an apprenticeship. Just on a lark, I really had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. And I sort of hit water and swam. You know, it was a great fit right from day one.
Take me back to the Sutton Place Hotel. You were talking about a really interesting thing that you guys sort of started there in the kitchen.
Oh, we had the chef's table, and that was the first chef's table in Toronto. And what that was for high-profile VIP guests to dine right in the middle of the kitchen. So there was a corner that would give you a great view of the working kitchen. And I would create a menu, and I would be at the pass working the kitchen and then feed this table at the same time. So they felt a part of it. And it caught on like a brush fire.
Who'd you feed?
Oh, in those days, we had, I fed the Pope when he was in town at the Cardinal's house. We had Dick Van Dyke, we had Mary Tyler Moore, we had every star go through. And if you take a lot of the old stars, from Tony Bennett to, you never knew who was going to be sitting there at night, because Sutton Place became sort of movie star central for many, many years. And I hit it just at the right juncture, became the chef. I was 25. So it all sort of came together.
Then you decide you're going to take on the restaurant, just for you, on your own. What was that like?
In '85, I sold everything we owned and we bought the restaurant. I told Roxanne we weren't getting married, and I sold the car and took the money for the wedding and the car and bought a 1/3 partnership at Pronto.
Okay, that had to go over like a lead balloon. By the way, we're not getting married and I've sold the car?
Well, the fact that she didn't yell at me, then I knew I was going to marry her.
You said she's the one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. So she's always been very supportive?
She has been, yeah.
So you've always been pretty passionate about knowing you're going to succeed?
I never doubted it.
Never doubt.
Came close a couple of times.
What were those times?
You know, when I built North 44, I very naive about construction, definitely had the energy to do it, but spent twice as much money as I had.
Oh, okay.
And had to pay it all back. So that was tough.
What was it like opening this? This was a huge undertaking.
It was a big one. It was the biggest one I've ever done.
Yeah.
So we're 22,000 square feet here, plus, and no partners. It's just me. We did it in the recession, right in the middle of the recession. If you ever want to know when there's going to be a recession, just ask me if I'm doing a project.
I'll call you.
Yeah.
I'll call you.
And it always happens.
Okay.
It was tough, and we had the cameras following us too because we shot for the Heat. So every day they'd meet me in the parking lot, no matter what the pressure, no matter if it was an up day or a down day, and I'd be dealing with that on top of it. So the big challenge for me was that I didn't know it. I'd never built a store before. I'd never done retail before, and I'm doing it in a big, big scale. So it wasn't like I was in my comfort zone building another restaurant.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of sleepless nights, but it worked.
I'd say so. I'd say it kind of did.
But you know, we're a year old now, and I look at where we are today compared to the day we opened, and I wish I knew then what I know now. Sure. But isn't that the mystery of life, right?
How do you stay passionate about all of the things that you're doing?
What sort of drives me is doing a good job, and it sounds a bit Boy Scoutish, a little corny, but it's so true. And I push this in the company all the time, is that no matter what we do, we have to exceed expectation.
What are some food trends do you think that people should be looking out for today?
I think the great trend that's happening now is we've gone back to regional foods. Like we've turned the clock back, where old has now become new. The old has now become the new fashion. Like my new restaurant is going to be all about fundamental Italian cooking, really heartfelt fundamental recipes that grandmothers and old school cooks could relate to. And that's what I'm excited about as a chef, and I think that's wonderful. That we've gone through this period of evolution in Toronto where we tried everything, and then we had this wonderful European foundation to our cooking now, and we're happy to be there, and we're happy not to change things for the sake of change. That we're actually refining, and cooks are worried about being really good technical cooks now, rather than being flashy cooks and fancy. And I think that's the hardest cooking to do. And it's the most beautiful to eat. So that's the big trend for me, is that we've actually grown up.
And good news for farmers and local produce.
Oh, I think Ontario's on fire. Canada's on fire in terms of our winemaking, our cheese making, our cured meats, the way we raise produce, the way we raise animals for slaughter these days. We're the envy out there. Even our banks are doing fabulously well. Like Canada has turned into this little rock star of a country. Who would have known?
Where do you go from here? What happens next?
I want to be really thoughtful about what we do. I want a downtown store and I want a West End store. And I'd like to do another downtown restaurant. I have an idea for that. So
Wow. You're a busy guy.
So we'll see it. But you know, it runs itself really well.
Yeah.
My wife tells me that I have more time off now than I did 15 years ago.
You have a fantastic family. And you've said before that one of the things you're most proud of is being married for 25 years?
25.
25 years. Why is that one of your most amazing achievements?
Well, it's just a tough thing to do, especially in my business. You know, I've watched casualty after casualty in my business. The fact that you can maintain a relationship, keep your family together, have a good, positive story in this crazy world, doing the things you do and the hours you work, it's tough. It's very tough, you know.
You love spending time at your cottage. Are you an outdoorsy guy for the most part?
Very, very much so.
Yeah?
Love the outdoors. Just don't like being cooped up in the house at all. I like being on the beach. I like being in the water. I like being out in the country. It's why I like to escape the city on the weekends, just to give you some balance in terms of your week.
Yeah.
Really enjoy that.
You say no matter what you're doing, you should work for yourself.
I think even when you work for a company, you're your own property. Your name is your badge, and you could sweep a floor, you could cut a lawn, you can cook, you can balance accounts for people, but your brand is your brand, whether you actually have a name on a storefront or it's just on a paycheck. That's the water you cut through. So I believe that if you take care of that in your life, life takes care of you. I truly believe that concept. So if someone comes and cuts my lawn and they do a perfect job, I stop and I notice. So do the neighbors notice. And life is that simple. It's that simple. No matter what you do a great job of it. And I believe at the end of the day, you're not always going to have a good boss. You're not always going to have a perfect situation where people acknowledge you. But at the end of the day, I believe that'll matter. And that'll make a huge difference in your life. Like, people become bewildered too quickly because they weren't noticed or they weren't patted on the back. They didn't get immediate satisfaction out of something. You have to be more patient than that. You have to sort of plant seeds and work hard. And end of day, people do notice. And it's a simple concept. But sometimes it sounds so simple that it sounds like you're trying to snow people. But it's not. I believe that message is the best message that you can live your life by. It's the greatest motto that you can sort of wear as a badge. It's just always do a good job.
Than's so much, Mark. We really appreciate this. This has been amazing.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Passion Profiles, brought to you by Häagen-Dazs. Come here on the store?
Love to.
All right. Let's go do that.
This episode of Passion Profiles is brought to you by Häagen-Dazs.